So to install, this is my normal setup here. It's small zip ties from Harbor Freight, super cheap. Some heat shrink from Harbor Freight. This is really inexpensive. I use these spade connectors, and to crimp on spade connectors, I have these crimp tools. I have some wire strippers. They don't have to be fancy. These are flush trim dikes for the zip ties. These are kind of fancy dikes, but you can get them on Amazon or eBay for $5 if you want to wait 2 weeks for shipping. And I'm going to use a fish tape. I have this. I use it frequently. You can use anything really. And I'm going to use this to fish the wiring through these holes through the hood. But your other alternative is you can come through this loom and go through the wiring, or zip your wire through the wiring harness here. So let's get started. So this is your typical relay harness. You can get on eBay. We provide it in our package, or you can get it off our website at Fabrication.com. And normally what you do is you just take this relay and you Tex screw it to the side of your car or wherever you want it. And Tex screws aren't the best thing in the world. They usually rattle loose and all that. So Rago Fabrication designed and developed this relay holder for the 4Runner. And all you have to do is go to our website, purchase this with your package or separately, and we provide you with stainless steel screws. The cool thing about these screws is if you're buying pods or any other bar, they have an Allen key, and this fits that Allen key that goes in there. There's stock holes located on this fender well on the driver's side. Screw it in. It takes seconds. It's $10 part. It makes your life a whole lot easier than drilling in the side of your car, and the relays will not come loose. And we designed it to hold 3 relays, and the purpose is because we provide 3 different light packages for vehicles: the hidden bumper brackets, the ditch pods, and the 50-inch radius bar up top. And this bracket will hold all 3 relays. If you'd like to add more relays, what you can do is purchase our universal relay bracket and add 2 more holes here, which is a pretty easy install anyway, and then you can have 6 relays. So how this works is you get your relay, which we have lights hooked up already, and you take off the tab that's located in the back. To do that, I don't have a pocket screwdriver on me, but I do have my knife, and there's a tab back here that holds it in place so it doesn't pull out. All you have to do is stick the screwdriver or the knife in there and pry it a little bit, and the tab will come out. We don't need that anymore. And you take this relay and slide it in the relay holder here, and it will just slide down in there real nice like that. There's another relay that's wired already in here, and that will go in there, and another one will sit right next to that. What I usually do is I will get my wiring harness to the respective spots. I will put the relay in the relay spot, and I will stretch out my wires to where they need to go. We have our switch here, which I'm going to take the switch off because we have to run it through the firewall. So I will take that off. Take that off. I'll throw the switch to the side. We're not going to use that switch because Rago Fabrication now provides the factory replacement switches that are inside the cab. There's blank spots, and if you order the switches through us or eBay, it's a lot cleaner look in the end. We're going to drape the switch that goes inside the cab over the car here. We're going to isolate our power lines, which are somewhere in this spaghetti mess. here, and we'll push them aside. And in this harness, the pod harness, there's two connectors. These are Deutsch connectors. I usually just cut these off because, as you can see how big the line is, and the pod's just right here, I would have all this nasty wire bundled up. So I don't really care. These are nice connectors, but it's really irrelevant. And so before mounting the pods on the Rago Fabrication ditch brackets, I went ahead and cut back this thick wire here, and I'm gonna connect these connectors here. So as you can see, I stripped off a lot of wire, and I'm gonna trim that with my dikes. Go ahead and put on that connector. Use my tool. Just grab them in. This side. And do the same thing on the other side, and just fish them through here, fish them through this side. And what I'm gonna do is take the wire and zip tie it to our zip tie slot there and route it underneath, so that's secure, and that will allow me to determine the correct distance I need to cut off the main wire that powers up this pod. So as you can see here, I got my spade connectors on the ditch bracket harness. I zip tied the harness to the Rago Fabrication ditch brackets and mounted my ditch brackets to the light. The next step is what I do, which is not necessary, but I always like doing this, is I'm going to route the power wire to this through the hood holes here. And to use that, I'm going to use my fish tape. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. You just have to be a little patient. And the other alternative is to route the wires around through here and just follow this harness. You could zip tie the harness to that and call it a day. But you'll see in the end that this is a lot cleaner look. And I'm going to stick this fish tape through there, and I'm going this direction because I want to pull the wire pull the harness through as opposed to push it through. And obviously it'll help a little bit more if you have someone help you eyeball that hole on the other side. So as you can see, we got the fish tape through. It wasn't very difficult. And what we're going to do now is attach this to there. Like I said before, I don't like these, so cut it off to that side. And I want to tape this to my fish tape, and I'm going to do that using electrical tape. So what you want to do is just tape it there to secure it. So you're not fighting yourself. And the most important part is taping the front of it like an ice cream cone in such a way that this tape tapers into the fish tape, so you don't create snags. Because if you get stuck and it pulls too hard, this harness will come right off of that. So what you can do is have someone go over there and feed it through the other side, and they'll slowly pull as you push. Just be gentle. Okay. Just keep on feeding while they pull, and when they get to the end there, they'll just wiggle it out slowly and have them keep on pulling on the harness until you get some slack on this side. And what I'm going to do is I like to make it look like it just doesn't exist. So I'm gonna feed this down here through this plastic. It's gonna get zip tied down here to the main harness, and this harness also is gonna get cut here. Just cut it off, throw that excess away. And this harness will eventually get wired to this one here. So to make it really nice is I take my zip ties. I've already zip tied some of it there so it's not crazy loose. And I'll just add a couple zip ties along the way. I don't worry about trimming the excess just yet. I always do that at the end. Zip tie it here. And if you put too many zip ties, it's better than not enough. What I'll do is I will come up to here and I will determine where this needs to be. I'll cut this harness that goes to there so it has enough slack for the hood and the connector. Cut the plastic off. Peel it back. There. Now peel it back far enough, because what I do is I get the thick shrink wrap. I'll cut like a 2-inch piece off. Let's go ahead and cut that off there. Set it right there. Strip my wire. Strip my wire there. The other two connectors on there. Take my thick heat shrink and I'll go red to red. Well, I'll actually slip it through first. I'll slip the heat shrink over this connector. Yeah. There's that one. And do the same with the other one. Find the red wire, which is this one. Connect the red wire. Then I'll get my heat shrink and slip it over. Same thing here. Heat shrink it there. And heat shrinks, all you need to use to shrink that is you can use a regular lighter, a heat gun, or what I have is a creme brulee torch that I got from the grocery store or a cooking store, and it just torches it and melts the heat shrink and creates a really good seal. So what we're going to do is the same thing on the other side. So determine how much you need to go in there, with leaving some slack at the hood so it doesn't kink and pinch. And after I heat shrink that correctly, I'm going to zip tie it all together real nice, like that, so it connects. And this is going to go to the other side, and we'll show you that after I complete this side. So I went ahead and finished zip tying up the other side real nice, and right here, this cable is taut. So what I did is you can grab 3 or 4 inches and start snipping it there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it, I'm going to solder it, or I mean use my heat shrink it, and then I'm going to stick it back in the hole so you don't see it. So let's do that. I might put this heat shrink a little long. This is the red wire. Connect the red wire. Slide it back over that connector there. Then take my heat shrink, put it on the black wire. If you happen to make a mistake and for whatever reason heat shrink your wires and have to take them back out, all you have to do is just cut them with a razor blade. It's nothing permanent. This is another reason why I don't like using those other connectors, even though they're watertight and nice. They don't package very well, so it's not as clean as a look as this would be, which is just my opinion. So you can use a lighter and just heat this up. It'll shrink, a heat gun, or my creme brulee torch, which I think is pretty awesome. So as you're doing it, go all the way around. In the lighter, you want to put the blue part of the flame in the heat shrink, and that will do it. If you're worried about weather tightness, they have expensive heat shrink that has gel inside that will ooze out the backside, which will allow moisture and water never to get in there. It's a little pricey, but if you're concerned about it or not, then you're gonna pay. So go ahead and squeeze the ends there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick it in there, pull that a little bit tauter so it stays on its own. And as you can see, there's no wires coming up. It's super clean. It's as factory as you could probably get. Let me walk over here, I'll show you this side. This is our wiring on this side. And you can see I have a lot of zip ties. There's nothing wrong with that. It allows it just to stay where you want it to stay and not bind. So the next step is to fish this through the firewall, which I use my same fish tape, and it's really easy to do. But before I do that, I have a LED bar to put up top, and I have the hidden bumper bracket to install. So I'm gonna move on to the next step. Okay, so when the camera crew went to lunch, I went ahead and installed the Rago Fabrication 52-inch radius mounts on this 4Runner. And these are the Rago Fabrication brackets. You can get them at ragofabrication.com. This is the Freedom LED 52-inch bar. This is a 5D bar, which is a flood spot combo. And it's pretty much the highest grade optic you can get for the price range. The next step is the more expensive, higher money brands. So we're going to cover the wiring of this bar. And majority of the Toyota trucks and 4Runners are similar on the way they designed this windshield, and it's going to assist in our wiring in the truck. So what we're going to do is go ahead and lift up the hood. Lift up the hood. What we want to do is take this clip off like we did in the other relay. Take that clip off and just slide it into the Rago Fabrication harness, the relay holder. Slide the relay into our Rago Fabrication relay holder here, and I'm going to take the wire that goes up to the light, the power wire, and I'm going to route it through where I eventually want to go. And I want to mimic the routing we did for our pods I want to connect them, and then I want to eventually route the wire on the other side of this hood hinge and underneath this plastic part up the windshield. But before we do that, I'm going to generalize where I want this and just lay it out a little bit. And this is about where I want it. And on this model, I'm going to take off this huge plastic sheathing that came factory on it. So I make a snip. Be careful not to cut the regular wires. Get off. I'm going to go ahead and just cut the end off of here because I don't need it. I'm going to push that aside. It's trash. And you can pull this sheathing off. Start ripping it off. The rest of it off. And I'm doing this because I'm going to end up wrapping it in black electrical tape all the way up to the very end. The reason why I'm going to do this is because I want this as thin as possible, because along this windshield glass there's a groove that this wire fits in perfectly. It fits in so good it seems like it was made for it, and you won't know that the wires are going through to that LED bar. So what I usually do is at the base I'll wrap it around 3 or 4 times and then start going at a diagonal. And what you want to do is not bind it all up like I'm doing. Just try to keep it flat. If you have a good start in the beginning, you'll have a good start all the way through. And keep tension on the tape while you're overlapping 50% all the way up. Just take your time, go all the way up. This is in the car, so it's helping me put tension on the cable as I wrap it. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then we'll cut to the next step. So as you can see, I black taped the harness. This is more than I needed. That's why I don't like I like cutting off the connectors on it. And this was the original here. What I'm going to do is just get rid of what I don't need and toss that aside. There's a rubber piece here, and you just want to pop that out. It's really easy. Really good tug. Lift up on it and then pull out, and it'll slide right out. We'll leave that here. And then if what you do is you want to route it through here and then around that hinge and down through that plastic in the corner here. You won't be able to see it once the other plastic piece we just took off is there. And if you want to come on this side, and I'll show you this groove. Majority of the Toyotas have this groove, and you can see now why I took off the other sheathing. And this will fit right in that groove. So what you want to do is just flatten out that wire. You can get a screwdriver or stick it in there better, and I will after I run this all the way up where I need it to be. You just want to go and keep on going up. Take your time. Take your time and flatten out the wire and get it to the point where it's right here. And don't connect the wires and then do this, because this wire will want to twist up and it'll be difficult to keep in there. So the next step, I'll show you how to connect these two where it's hidden as best as possible. So this is obviously the harness that is attached to LED bar, and I'll just give it some slack back here so it's not tight. And my goal is to put the connectors behind the bracket, so it's in line. This is really thick stuff, so what I do is I cut it off about right there. It's very rare that this will reach into here and long enough, so this is just a standard thing I usually do. Now that our wire's tucked in our groove, what I'll do is I will match this aligned with that, and since there's some slack back here, there's a little leeway, so I'll line it up with that. I'll cut it right there, and you can see how much black tape I had extra. I cut it on the wire. You can do one of two things. If you want it to be wired in permanent, I recommend soldering it and heat shrinking it after, and that would be the most slimline, cleanest look. But since this is my car, I don't know what the customer wants. I'm going to have a connector back here, and I'm going to show you how to make that as clean as possible with connectors. Now this is another reason why I clip off all the connectors. Even though they come with the watertight connectors, it won't look very good if you have a fat connector up here. It will just look like you just didn't know what you were doing. So the next scene, I'll have this stripped off, the connectors on. I will solder it like I will connect there and heat shrink it like I did here. And then before I do that, I'll put a bigger heat shrink over this so I can heat shrink the whole thing, the connectors and all, so it looks black and slim. So I put the rubber piece back in. As you can see, the wiring fits perfectly in the groove. I normally put a bead of silicone in there. I didn't have any on me, so I didn't end up doing it, just to assure that it doesn't pop out. I heat shrink the connectors in there, but I didn't have a big enough heat shrink to go over all of that and then heat shrink it, but it would have been a better looking outcome, so I black taped it, and then I zip tied the wire here so nothing pulls it out, or off-roading it doesn't wobble out or anything. So that's pretty easy. Our next step is the hard part, which is not really very difficult, and going through the firewall and hooking up our switches for the interior, and then pretty much that's it. Okay, now the elusive, what do I do with the wires? How do I put them through into the car? Now, on majority of Toyotas, there is a big grommet that's down here that the main wiring harness runs through. We're going to go through there. And what we're going to have to do is make a slit in that. And what you can do is go from the outside or the inside and make a slit with a knife. But what you do is you have these connectors, and you don't want to make that big a slit. So what I do all the time, because I have this nifty tool that takes out these connectors from this plastic piece, and it's very easy. You can have this tool, you can get a piece of wire or whatever, and inside here there's a spring. And what you do is, right here, you take this thin piece of metal, you push it down, and that relieves the spring, and then you just pull down and it pops right out. And that'll allow you to disconnect this big bulky plastic piece and just deal with the wires itself. Now you want to write down in what order the wires go back, so you won't have it backwards and you're confused. So just screenshot it with your camera. Just make this the top indicator and then screenshot it, so when you go back and try to put this back in the car, you could just slide them in and it'll clip in. So what I'm going to do is do all these and take them all out, because it'll make as a smaller incision in that big grommet. So next I will show you how to put it to the fish tape, all three of them, and fish it through the car. We put our fish tape through the grommet from the inside of the car to outside. We did this for one reason only, is because we don't want to push this wire through. We want to pull the wire through. It's the way of least resistance. So what we want to do is tape these wires to our fish tape, but you want to tape them in a fashion where they're staggered to create the least resistance through that grommet slot. And what's happened in the past is if you put them together like this, this will get caught up on the grommet and it'll just pull the fish tape through and you have to start all over. We don't want that. So what I normally do is I take my black tape, I put one on there like this, and I'll tape this. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'll tape that to leave it there. I'll tape that there just so it stays. I'll take the next one. I'll go down an inch or two and I'll tape that one so it stays. It doesn't have to be pretty, it's just coming off. It doesn't really matter. I'll tape this one an inch or two down. And then what I'll do is I'll wrap it all the way up really tight and really nice until it tapers all the way to the end. If you're going to use these same switch that came with your harness, it's really important to protect these or they'll rip right off if you put too much force in there. So what you want to do is keep on taping. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you after. So keep on taping, keep on taping. The most important is the first set of connectors there, because once that gets started, you can go down a little bit farther if you want, which will help ease the pain, and just make like a cone. And then the best solution is to have someone inside the car and have them pulling as you're feeding, and be vigilant where these wires are because they will get snagged up. So this is going good. There's no one inside the car. I'll just pull it through. There's 2 layers of grommet you gotta go through. And go ahead, feed that through, and make sure when you get to the end, these don't tangle themselves and get bound up. You'll kink the wire, and we don't want that. So I'll show you the next step from the inside. So now we pulled the wires through. Here's all 3. The connector ends are safe, all is well. Now all you have to do is figure out where you want to put this thing. I'm going to refer back to when you took these out, and if you didn't listen to me and take a screenshot and or write them down, all else is not lost. Just get your connector, clip it on, and then match up the colors. So obviously the black goes to the black, the white goes to the white, and the blue goes to the blue. But in this install, we're not going to use this because Toyota has these blank spots in the dash. They're here, and the customer went ahead and bought the factory replacements for these lights, and soon they'll be available at ragofabrication.com. You can also purchase these for direct replacements in your Tacoma and or 4Runner. What you do is just pop these out, and they come with a connector here, and you wire these up to the connector per the wiring diagram. I haven't looked at the diagram yet, but I'm assuming the black goes to the black, and the red most likely is for the light, and the green is probably the sending wire, but don't quote me on that. I'm just guessing because it's the first time I've opened these. So that's pretty much all it is to wiring, and I will show you the end result of the lights working after I finish up this project.